What's going on, everybody? My name is Zach Hartley and welcome back to my weekly watch list video. In this series, my goal is to share with you how I feel about the market conditions and what is happening in the market, and then tell you about the stocks that are at the top of my watch list going into the week ahead. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so to start us off, I always like to start with the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones so that we can understand what direction the market is moving in and are we approaching any key levels where we may have some resistance. And unfortunately, that is exactly where we are at today. If you look at the NASDAQ, you can see we got rejected at this level back here at the beginning of February. We got rejected at the end of March, and now we're getting rejected or at least running into some resistance right here at the beginning of May and end of April. And so super interesting level for the NASDAQ. We could very easily open green on Monday and Tuesday and just blow this out of the water, or we could get rejected and fall back down. We're just gonna have to give it some time and wait and see. And when you look at the S&P 500, it's actually a very similar chart. We were rejected here in February and approaching some resistance over the last few weeks. And the Dow Jones has actually been hovering around a resistance level for the last almost 3 or 4 months. And so super interesting charts in the big picture here. And it's important to realize that this is showing us that there's no key direction here. There's no clear market direction that everything is trading in. We're seeing some consolidation right now based on these charts. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, we are seeing a clear direction. It is up and to the right. That is a bullish trend. We're also above our 50-day moving average. And so far, Bitcoin is up by almost 100% this year, which is really impressive. And so far, I think it's the best performing asset class. Now, gold over the last 2 years or 5 years, this isn't 2 years, this is 5 years, has been really interesting because as you can see, we're approaching $2,050 for the third time now. We are approaching a very key level where we have been rejected twice, once in 2020, once in 2022, and now again in 2023. So it's going to be interesting to see, do we break through or do we get rejected and come back down? I think it's going to be dependent on the banks. If we see more banks collapse and more uncertainty in the market, I think the price of gold is going to skyrocket because people are just going to want to hold bricks of gold instead of cash in the bank. Now, when it comes to earnings, we're still in the middle of earnings week. We got a lot going on. We got PayPal and Palantir. We got a couple of car companies. We got Airbnb, Disney, Trade Desk, and Unity, JD.com, Fiverr, and a couple of New York companies. New York City REIT is one that I've been looking into. So lots going on this week. Now, with regards to market conditions, this is where things are getting interesting. The US just hiked their interest rate last week to above 5% for the first time since like 2007, 2008. And so we are in new territory here. A lot of people and a lot of new traders and investors have not invested in a high interest rate environment, and it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of impact this has over the next 6 to 12 months, because I think a lot of people and a lot of banks and a lot of companies are going to struggle with this higher interest rate because they were not expecting it 3 or 4 or 5 years ago when they signed up for the debt, and they were not planning to have this much interest payments as soon as they refinance. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. And as time goes on and interest rates stay higher, I think it could get worse and worse for anybody that has high debt right now. Secondly, Canada's next decision is going to come out on June 7th. I expect them to continue raising either in an on and off basis, but I don't expect it to go down at all. So they might pause it or they might raise it. It doesn't really matter. I think we're going to see at least 1 or 2 more raises through the next year, but we're going to have to give it some patience and kind of see what happens there. U.S. regional banks are still collapsing. I think another 1 or 2 went down last week, and there is some trading opportunities there. If you can figure out which banks are the most susceptible and short those stocks, I think there's a big opportunity. Oil prices are also falling. ExxonMobil was the #1 returning company last year, and this year I don't think it's going to happen. I think oil companies could struggle a little bit, especially as economies are somewhat going into recessions and could be contracting. That means that there's going to be less demand for oil, it's going to be lower prices, and some of these oil companies might not make as much money. And then lastly, like I said, interest rates are going to have a bigger impact in the next 6 months than they've had in the last 6 months, and I think it's going to be a bigger impact as time goes on. As long as those rates stay at that 4 to 5%, most people were not expecting that. Now, when we start talking about stocks here, this is a company that I showed you last week. It is called DataDog. They are a software company. I really like the fundamentals of this company. They're growing quickly. They have good profit margins. I like what they're doing. They've got major support here around this kind of $60, $62 here level here. And this is the chart that I showed you last week. This is what it looks like this week. We came all the way back down to $62. And on Thursday and Friday, we had a strong bounce off with good volume. I think this could be the start of a new trend. We're going to have to wait for Monday and Tuesday to see. I am going to be doing a full deep dive video on DataDog though, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That video is going to be coming out this week, and it's going to be a full in-depth review of everything you need to know about the company and whether or not I'm actually getting into the trade. Next one here though is Cloudflare. Cloudflare is a company I've talked about before. I like the company, I like the stock, I like the space that they're in, and I like how they're going after it. However, their last quarter was terrible. They had a terrible conference call. They brought back on some of their forecasts, and it didn't go very well, and that dropped the stock by 25%. It's now trading at this like $40 to $44 level right here, this where it bounced off 37 once. And I basically look at this level and say, okay, there's a major level of support right here. If it falls below this in a meaningful way, like that's a very clear trend that you don't want to be in. You don't want to be holding this stock if we fall below support. But I do like the risk to reward that it has right now. You get in at $44, let's say you get out at $36, you got an $8 downside, but you could very easily ride this up to $70 or $80. And so I do think the risk to reward here for Cloudflare right now is appealing, so it is on my watch list. Another one where I like that same opportunity is Wishpond. I've made a video about Wishpond several times throughout the last 2 years, and I really like the company. They have done everything they said they were going to do. The financials look great. They're becoming more and more profitable, and I think they're doing a good job. The problem is, they are not the darling of the industry. No, I don't see a whole lot of tech blogs writing about them. I don't see a lot of YouTube videos about them. I don't see a lot of people giving them any attention at all. And I think that has hurt their stock price. And I think it's given us an opportunity because as of right now, I think it's undervalued. I think there's a great opportunity here in Wishpond. I like the company. I like the CEO. I like the marketplace. I like what they're doing. And if we continue to bounce off support here and break through our moving averages, I am going to be a buyer of Wishpond. Now, last company I want to share with you here is probably the riskiest company on this watch list. It is Lilium, L-I-L-M. They are a vertical takeoff and landing drone company. Maybe not drone company, aircraft company, I could say. And they just announced that they are raising money, so that was kind of a big catalyst there. And they just also announced 2 days ago that they are testing a new aircraft. I believe it was in Europe somewhere at a big test facility. But it's very exciting because they are making progress on the launch. They have some catalysts here. They're raising some money, and they're going full steam ahead. And if you look at this from a technical standpoint, we have a very clear change in trend here. We have crossed above our moving averages. We have strong green candles with very small wicks on the top, which is nice to see. We have increasing volume. We have a MACD crossover here, and I'm sure the RSI would be moving in the upwards direction right now. And so I like Lilium from a technical standpoint. I like Lilium from a business standpoint. I'm not sure yet if I like Lilium from a valuation standpoint, but that is more of a personal decision that you will have to make. So definitely put this on your watch list, put it on the radar, see if you think it's good value at this price, because the chart is very appealing right now from a technical standpoint. Now, if you want to learn more about this technical analysis and how to understand these charts, I have a totally free course on Skillshare. You get 1 month completely free to the entire platform. You can take all of my courses and all of everybody else's courses totally for free. So if you're looking for self-improvement, like this is the way to do it. It won't cost you a single thing. You can take my course. It's 10 hours long. It has over 14,000 students, over 400 reviews, and it's 2 million minutes of watch time have been spent watching that course, which is so cool to me. There's over 10 hours of content on there that will walk you through step by step everything you need to know, and all of the videos are like titled and labeled. So if you already know something, you just skip to the next one, or you go find the pieces of information that you want to learn about. It's the best resource that you can find online, and it's totally free. I put it together for you to give it away to the world, and I hope you get some value out of it. So links are down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck trading, good luck investing, and we'll talk to you soon.